The National Prosecuting Authority seems poised to succeed in its efforts to extradite the Gupta brothers and their wives from the United Arab Emirates. This follows the ratifying of an extradition treaty by the UAE in April. Now, the NPA has applied to the International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, to assist with the execution for arrest warrants for 2 Gupta brothers and their spouses. That warrant relates to 25 million rand paid for a feasibility study to determine the viability of the failed Estina dairy farm project. Let's get you some analysis on the story now. Romeo Nthambeleni is an advocate of the High Court, and he joins us via our video link this morning. Advocate Nthambeleni, it's great to have you with us on the show for what is an incredibly important developing story. I said in my introduction that the NPA seems poised to succeed in this extradition of the Gupta family. But extradition in itself is not an overnight process. Just explain that to us.
Okay. Good morning, Michelle, and thank you, to you and the viewers. Look, as you have rightfully pointed it out, it's not going to be an overnight, process. And an example we can see with the process that is ongoing in relation to, the case of Shepherd Bushiri. So when the process has been initiated, let's not forget that the Guptas will have their legal representatives actually opposing the extradition for them to be brought back in South Africa. So the processes will unfold, but it also has to follow the legal processes and due processes of the law. And you have given an example there and said that Interpol was actually contacted to assist. The question is whether the Gupta brothers have been formally charged. If they have been formally charged, that is the process. And it has to follow the due process of the law. It's not like you'll send the South African police and the next morning we'll see them in OR Tambo International Airport coming back to South Africa. It's not as easy as that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm concerned about is, or that I'm confused about, is that these agreements on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters and extradition between South Africa and the UAE, they were signed back in 2018. I mean, the Justice Minister, Ronald Lamola himself, has expressed some concern around the UAE possibly dragging its feet in enacting this agreement. Could it have been done sooner?
Yes, Michelle, you're correct. I think the process of the treaties was initiated back in 2018, in 2010, and then the Minister of Justice, due to pressure in relation to the Gupta cases, and finally it was signed. You can like 2018 to now. There's a long period of time, and you're giving a very good example, Michelle, to say, the process itself has taken a long period of time. What does it tell us about the process of actually extraditing, this fugitive of justice back in the country? And, the main issue is that their lawyers can argue, against their protection of human rights, because that, international law is at play here. Whether they will be guaranteed a fair trial and all those kind of processes. Let's not go far. We've got an example here closer to home, where we have an extradition agreement with Botswana. If we as South Africans don't want to send people that are facing the death penalty in Botswana, we cannot do that, because the laws of South Africa and Botswana, in principle, they differ in relation to the death penalty. We have the constitution that guarantees the right to life, and they don't have that. So those kind of processes, Michelle, that you're speaking to are very much important, and they will take much more longer than we expect.
Yeah. This article in the Citizen newspaper this morning saying that the UAE, through a statement, believes it could not act sooner because those agreements had not yet been ratified. Romeo, if I can ask you this. So according to reports, the Gupta family, they've been settled in Dubai for some time. That's also where a number of their companies are registered. Does this agreement now mean that the NPA can act on those companies?
Yes, indeed. Definitely, in terms of the agreement, they can act on the companies as long as we are stating properly that there are formal charges and criminal charges that are professed against them, and they can be proved that that those companies benefited and through the processes of money laundering and illegal transactions that happen in South Africa. That can can happen. And let's not forget that they also hold the citizenship of India, and we have a standing agreement with India as well. So, that helps us in terms of, unbundling the cases and also, bringing, justice to finality at the end of the day. So it will definitely assist the NPA. When you don't have a standing agreement with the country, as an example with Australia, you have challenges in dealing with that. Even if you've got a case, even if you have, a person charged in South Africa, if they flee and go to Australia, you are not going to be able to act because you don't have a standing agreement with that particular country.
I mean, you said at the beginning of our interview that it's not going to be an overnight process, the extradition of the Gupta family. How do you see it unfolding from now, and how long do you reckon it could possibly, worst case scenario, how long could it drag on for?
To be fair, let's give it a process of plus or minus 6 to 8 months. I think then we will start seeing, unfolding properly, and depending on how these Gupta brothers will actually propose the process and the processes that are involved in the UIA relating to bringing them to justice and bringing them to court. So plus or minus, let's give it 6 to 8 months, then we'll start to see where it is really going in terms of its processes. Because as I've indicated to you, the people that we are talking about are very much resourced. They will have their lawyers and their legal representatives actually opposing the process of extradition, and they must be given the opportunity to answer to the processes and the papers. And as much as we are seeing the very same thing unfolding in the Shepherd Bushiri matter, that might actually happen, and it might take a longer process to see finality of this matter. But I'm pleased that the agreement is there, and it's a standing agreement, and it has been signed, and it will assist in allowing the law enforcement agencies to start to act on something. It's better to have one bed at hand than two that are away in the bush.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 to 8 months, Romeo. We're going to hold you to that. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks very much for that analysis there. Advocate Romeo Nthambeleni is an advocate of the High Court there. That's a big developing story that we're tracking for you right here on the channel. The National Prosecuting Authority does seem poised to succeed in its efforts to extradite the Gupta brothers and their wives from the United Arab Emirates.